Welcome into the CHGO Blackhawks Podcast presented by DraftKings Sportsbook, America's top-rated sportsbook. Download the app and use that promo code CHGO when you sign up. Happy Wednesday. I'm Zawaski with Greg Boysen and Mario Tirabassi here in our West Loop CHGO Sports Studios. Thanks for being with us today.
Hello.
Make sure you smash that like button on YouTube and hit that subscribe button while you're there. If you're listening on the podcast, make sure you're subscribed or following us there as well. And hey, those 5-star reviews are always fun. Bit of a heads up. We've been telling you about it for a couple days now. Our February 10th takeover is happening. Blackhawks Coyotes. That is Friday, February 10th. More details to come, and the opportunity to buy tickets will come later this week. So stay with us. We'll tell you how, but the details are finally being finalized, and I think you're going to be very excited about what we're about to share later this week. So save that date, February 10th. And what better time to become a CHGO diehard than now, because you will save on said takeover when tickets become available later this week. You save on all CHGO events, all CHGO merch, all CHGO everything, including a free shirt or hat upon sign up and renewal every year. It's a great deal. It pays for itself. Level up your fandom. Become a CHGO diehard today. Right ahead of our tickets going on sale for our CHGO Blackhawks takeover, which I am really looking forward to, fellas.
Yeah, it's going to be a good time. I know some regulars in the chat were wondering about the date to try and schedule up times to be in Chicago, so looking forward to hanging out with all our CHGO Blackhawks fans and watching a good old Bedard Bowl game.
Yeah.
It's going to be fun.
And don't buy tickets to that game. Tickets to the game are included in the takeover.
A ticket to the game will be included.
Mark your calendars. That's the day, but part of the takeover is tickets to the game. So don't go buying tickets for February 10th. Wait. They'll be on sale later this week. Lots of great info to come. Yeah, so basically we're at practice today, Greg and I, and we heard from Luke Richardson on a number of things, including Philip Kurashev, who's been playing some of his best hockey. We're going to get to that later in the show. But let's start it off, fellas. We haven't had a chance really to address Patrick Kane and Jonathan Toews, each individually speaking to the Blackhawks Talk podcast from our buddy Charlie Romeliotis and Pat Boyle. Each interviewed those guys and listened to them both. I'm sure you did too. I'm sure most Hawks fans did, and came out of it feeling like I don't know anything new or anything different than I knew last week. Not Charlie or Pat's fault, obviously. I truly feel like Kane and Toews aren't sure what they want to do.
Yeah, that's the same kind of takeaway that I had too. Is that this really, as much as we've speculated, do they know what they want to do? Are they just not saying it or anything like that? It really either their acting is really good, or what I would tend to believe is that they are really just taking every day as it comes and weighing what's best for their careers, their families, what's best for the organization, and they know the impact that they're going to have if they go to the trade market, and they know what the Blackhawks mean to them in their careers. So it's really a balancing act of what they want to do. I got more of that from Jonathan Toews than I did Patrick Kane. I think Patrick Kane kind of still, again, not really divulging much new information, but I think he still kind of sounded the same on the line that he has kind of kept since last summer. Toews, I feel like he was a bit more open in his indecisiveness, but
comment of maybe a change of scenery or a fresh start is best for everybody.
Yeah,
is kind of how he ended things. It's just really hard to tell.
In the same breath, saying like, part of me wants to retire Blackhawks.
Yeah.
So he's really just, those guys are still just going through the balancing act.
Yeah, it can't be easy for those guys, and even today, we're in the locker room after practice, and Patrick Kane's being asked, "Hey, did you hear what Jonathan said?" And Jonathan's being asked, "Did you hear it?" Like, it's gotta be.
Yeah.
If we're exhausted about talking about it, because I don't know about you two, I'm not gonna speak for you guys. I'm exhausted about talking about it. They have to be even beyond exhausted, having to answer questions every day. But we knew this was gonna happen, and it's got to be tough for them. There's so many factors that go into something like that. They have earned the right to stay here if they want to. I don't think anybody can be upset if that's what they choose. They earn
Wow.
those. If there's
There'll be people
anybody
who will be
that well, you can be, but you can't. You can be upset, but you don't be upset at them necessarily.
Right.
You can be upset that but that's part of the factor too. You can't tell me that hasn't crossed their mind. Being, well, am I being more loyal to the organization by staying, or am I more loyal by being a trooper and helping the organization get assets moving forward? Which one makes you more loyal to the team? Playing out your contract and walking away for nothing, or helping the team that you've had all this success for and made you rich beyond your belief, helping them rebuild for the next run? What's more loyal? I don't know.
I will say from personal experience, I hate moving.
Oh,
so
It's the worst.
so
Oh my
if,
God,
if
it's
you're
the
telling me
worst.
I'm
move,
starting to do that now. I hate it. It's the
if you're
worst.
telling me move to Edmonton for 2 to 3 months and then come back or go somewhere else, or get a couple for the organization to get a couple future assets, or I can keep my ass here until I want to move. That's a personal decision that I think that they can consider.
To be fair,
too.
to have Patrick Kane move to Edmonton for 3 months would be a little different than us packing up a truck
true.
and driving. He'll stay in a luxury hotel, or the team will rent him a nice little townhouse.
But he's got a son. What about little PK3?
Well, I mean, you hang out for the run. I don't know. Those are major factors. Jonathan Toews doesn't have the little one at home. It would be a lot easier for him to just say, okay.
Got his little dog.
You know what he should do?
bring the dog.
Adopt Mackenzie Entwistle. Boom. 2 birds with one
Become his
stone.
legal
Now
guardian.
Jonathan Toews has a family, and so does Mackenzie Entwistle.
Perfect.
I almost
2 birds,
doubled.
1 stone.
Everybody wins.
Just everybody wins. By the way, I looked this up at practice today. If indeed Kane and Toews are traded at the March 3rd deadline, there are only 6 more Blackhawks home games
At most.
for Jonathan Toews and Patrick Kane. That is the maximum 6, because they're about to hit, they've been home a lot this year. I think something like 68% of the remaining schedule is on the road. There are 6 home games between tomorrow and the trade deadline of March 3rd. So looking that up was a little bit like, oh my God, it's real. It is.
Yeah.
This could really be over soon. And Luke Richardson was asked about it today. Like, is it going to be kind of surreal to potentially see the Blackhawks playing without Kane and Toews? And it will be. For us and for the people joining us on the chat and that listen to this podcast, not seeing 19 and 88 out there is going to be weird if it happens.
When you think about when the Cubs traded away all those guys in one fell swoop, that was one championship, and they were here for like 6 years. You're talking 3 championships for guys that have been here for 14 years?
Yeah.
15.
14, yeah.
Do you think they could get the statue built and ready by the trade deadline so they can
No,
just
as
put
long
that
as
on the corner? And
As long as it's better, as long as they don't hire the guy that did the MLK statue in Boston, that's fine.
Yeah.
Whatever the heck that thing
That was awful.
That was rough.
Yeah,
Yeah.
that's
Yikes.
that's for
They
I
could
mean,
just
if
lop
they're
the
not
head off
already
of,
built,
They could
what are
just
we
lop
doing
the head
here,
off of
you
the
know?
Bobby Hull statue and put Patrick Kane on there if they wanted to. Change the number.
I'm okay with that.
Yeah.
sure.
No, I think that those things are all coming for those guys, and I think one of the things we sort of got to a little bit. I wrote about it a couple weeks ago. If they decide to stay through this season, do you want them back beyond, or is it just time to say F it, let's move on, let's start the next chapter? That's kind of where I'm at.
I am like, let's just do it. It's time.
Yeah.
But I could see from a business standpoint why they would want one or both of those guys to come back for another year or two. You're still going to have to have a reason to sell tickets.
Mm-hmm.
But if you're going to bring them back, then we're just going to go through this charade again.
I think if you
go through, are they going to get traded? Like if they bring them back on a 1-year deal,
Yeah,
then we're going to
that's-
spend the whole year doing this thing all over again.
that becomes the problem. I think if they come back willingly, I think it's to retire as Blackhawks. I don't think they're coming back to say, "Oh, we'll see what next year's like. Next year's going to be like this year.
Yeah.
Maybe not as bad, but it's going to be very similar."
loud,
So,
yeah.
if they're saying, "Don't trade me. I want to come back. I believe in the organization and the Luke Richardson and the direction and everything, and I want to help," it's to retire as Blackhawks. It's to be 3-4 year contract extensions, whatever it is. And I would be fine with that if they're coming in with the understanding of, hey, the next era is coming behind us, and if they have to accept a role as, look, probably going to not be the go-to guys anymore. Like Jonathan Toews, are you okay being our PK center and our third line guy or second line and lower? Patrick Kane, are you okay if your minutes get chopped a little bit because we have new guys coming in, we have younger players coming in that we want to give an opportunity? If they're okay with that, they're okay with all of that, I'm fine with that as long as they make the money work, which I don't think is going to be a problem.
Yeah, my concern with that is, though, that's all well and good, and those things can be acknowledged and say, oh, yeah, for sure, we'd love to do that. Those are two very egotistical is the wrong word, prideful, maybe, leaders that take pride in being the star players. And they might say they're willing to do that. I don't know if they're actually willing to do that. And we've also seen even this team bringing in veteran players like Max Domi and Athanasiou and on and on and on. You're seeing veterans defer to those guys. If you've got a team full of young players like Reichel and Slavin and Mitchell and Phillips and whoever go up and down the line, of course they're going to be looking at those two guys. Of course they're going to be trying to get them the puck. I think it's almost difficult for this next era of Hawks hockey to begin with those guys here. And yes, are they better in the short term with them on a roster? Absolutely. Patrick Kane is still at the top of his game. Maybe not the top, but close to the top of his game. We've seen him
when he can be healthy.
When he's healthy and when he's got some help, he's still a very effective player. Jonathan Toews, less so, but I don't think he's out there hurting you in any way, shape, or form.
No.
I just sort of think, and I think if you were to get Kyle Davidson over a beer, I don't know if he's old enough to drink a beer, maybe a milkshake, and ask him about it, he'd probably honestly say, you know what, it would just probably be easier for everybody if we just moved on. And I think one of the luxuries that Davidson has is that the fan base has sort of already dealt with the fact that it's going to happen. Everyone that we talk to is sort of saying, yeah, like, let's just do it. Like, it's time. It's time to make the moves.
Overall.
And the challenge for him will be if they both stay through the deadline and then this summer say, we want to come back, does he have the nerve to say, thanks, but no thanks? That's going to be tough.
Yeah, I wouldn't be. I get what you're saying. I kind of agree with that. But like, if you're gonna rebuild, if you're tearing it down, you got to go the whole way. You don't want to Pittsburgh Penguin it and keep bringing these guys that won cups with us and let them play to their 50 years old. And look, we got a small taste of it. Look how well the team played when Patrick Kane missed those 3 games.
Yeah.
Your point about the young players feeling the need to pass to Patrick Kane, that's valid. That's a real thing. Max Domi always looks, and he's not a rookie.
Yeah, he's a veteran.
But then all of a sudden you get him on a line with Lucas Reichel and no Patrick Kane, and they were dynamic. Yeah. Not that they're not dynamic with Patrick Kane, but not having that superstar, that guy that has won the 3 Stanley Cups there, not wondering, hey, I got to get on his good side. I don't want to piss off Patrick Kane. I don't want to piss off Jonathan Toews as a 21-year-old rookie. It might do more harm than good.
Well, and
especially when winning isn't the ultimate goal.
And we'll hear it later, but when Luke was talking about Kurashev, he talks about how demanding Kane and Toews are as teammates. They're yelling at players, not like scolding them, but saying, hey, get the puck, skate harder. Like, right. They're not just passengers on this team, which is good. You want them involved, you want them invested. But for young players, that's tough, and it's going to, sort of indirectly and subconsciously lead to them looking for those guys time after time after time. And I think if I'm Lucas Reichel and I'm potentially Connor Bedard or Adam Fantilli, I want to come in with a clean slate, just like Toews and Kane were able to do when they got here. They were here, and it was their team to take over. Yeah. There was no one here that they had to look over their shoulder and say, well, we've got to kiss the ring or whatever, or the 3 rings, I guess, for those two guys. Yeah. I just think that there is some value in just moving on. And as hard as it will be as a fan to watch New York Ranger Patrick Kane and Colorado Avalanche Jonathan Toews or whatever it might be, you can't do this thing with your heart. You've got to do it with your head. And that's something that I think Kyle Davidson deserves some credit for, because there have been a lot of temptations for him this year. Hey, a better start than we thought. Hey, look how good Lucas Reichel looks. Nope. I am sticking to the plan. The plan is to tank. Yeah. As tempting as it is to try something else or to get that cookie, he is sticking to it for better or worse. And I don't know. I think everybody kind of realizes, and Toews sort of said it, like the writing's on the wall. Mm-hmm. It's time for the new era to begin. That's where I'm at. If they bring him back, will I be mad? No, not at all. I get more years of two of my favorite hockey players of all time. But I just think it's difficult to imagine this team beginning its new era cleanly with those two guys still here.
Yeah. Identify your guys to be the next. We don't need a torch passing ceremony. We just get your guys here and say, yeah, that decade was amazing. Thank you for everything. But now it's time to be, hey, it's time for Lucas Reichel to be the guy, or hopefully Connor Bedard. And here's Frank Nazar, and here's Kevin Korchinski, the new Hawks for the new, and yeah, will it suck to see Patrick Kane and Jonathan Toews in the playoffs this year wearing a uniform? Absolutely. But fans will get over that real quick. Real quick. Yeah. Time heals all wounds. Like, come on. Like, does anybody even remember what Duncan Keith looked like in an Edmonton Oilers uniform? We're only a year.
It was weird.
It was weird, but people are going to forget that Duncan Keith spent a year with the Oilers in a couple of years. Like, people are going to be, oh, yeah, that's right.
Like trivia.
I forgot, yeah. Mm-hmm. Like, nobody remembered,
The Athletic just ran a piece about, legendary players that changed teams, and I was like, oh my God, I forgot Mike Madonna was a Red Wing.
Yeah. How many guys were Blackhawks in the 90s and 2000s?
Right, yeah.
Peter Bondra. Who remembers outside of Chicago? Who's going to remember Peter Bondra played for the Blackhawks?
Scored his 500th goal here.
Right. That was great. cheap pub, but, guys like that, there's a long laundry list of guys. Doug Gilmour, I think his stay here was a little more productive than the Peter Bondra one. Wendell Clark, all 11 games.
Yeah,
Paul Coffey.
Clark, I can't believe played
Paul
here.
Coffey's 9 games before he said, nope, I'm out of here.
Yeah.
Trade me right now. Like, it will suck to see it, but it'll also be kind of fun to see what they could do for other teams, as long as it's not the Rangers, because I hate those guys. But
it might be.
Think with your head, Greg, not your heart.
But but and I know Mike has asked the question twice about possibly trading for some young guys. We'll get to that here in a minute. But
none of those guys.
Yeah, I don't want any of those particular guys. But I think if you're preaching rebuild, if you're preaching we're moving on, then just do it. It sucks, but what's gonna suck more? Trading those guys and say and moving on, or trying to hold on to those guys for 3 more years and watch it get worse.
I also think that
let it go. It was a great era, but it's the past. It's time to move on.
And a lot of people are mentioning how good it would be to watch Kane and Bedard, and I agree with that. And that is something to certainly consider. Mm-hmm. But I think in general, all of us overvalue the mentor role. It's something that fans and media like to romanticize. These dudes are showing up and doing a job, right? Like, it is what it is. And yeah, Jonathan Toews might whisper into the ear of a young player and say, hey, maybe someday, do this instead of that. Or I've found success taking a face off this way. Sure, those things are insightful and are helpful, but Toews and Kane being here for Connor Bedard or Adam Fantilli isn't going to make or break their development. There might be a little hint here or there, but that can be given by Luke Richardson or Derek King or whoever it might be. I think we overvalue that. And I think people are mentioning, you mentioned Pittsburgh. Somebody in the chat mentioned Datsuk and Zetterberg hanging on too long in Detroit, and look how far that set them back.
Yeah.
Sure, maybe they help some young players with a suggestion here or there, but Detroit has been mired in mediocrity for a decade now.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
And this was the year they were supposed to climb out of it, and they brought in all these veterans, and Steve Yzerman won the offseason. They're bad.
Yeah.
Detroit's bad now.
Well, and the mentor thing, there's value to it, but like the superstar players are rarely the mentors. That's why they rarely ever coach.
Yeah.
Thank you.
The guys who are the mentors are like a Jake McCabe.
Yes.
A Connor Murphy.
Or a Luke Richardson.
Yeah. Or, a guy that has to scrap and just to survive in the league, that has to change the way he plays year in and year out to keep his job. Those are the guys that are the mentors. Those are the guys that become the coaches. Remember when Wayne Gretzky tried to be a coach in the NHL?
Just go score
Just go
92
do what I did.
goals. What's wrong with you?
How come you're not getting 7 points a night? That's all I did. I put my skates on. I was Wayne freaking Gretzky.
Yeah.
Those guys, the superstar players, rarely ever become good coaches because those guys never had to be coached. They just were born with God-giving talent, and they were better than everybody else.
Yeah.
So, like Kane Toews mentorship, I'd rather have a Jake McCabe
Also,
be a mentor.
Let's be real here. Like Patrick Kane, only until recently wore a letter on his sweater. He had maturity issues most of his career. Yes, over the recent years, having a kid, becoming more of an adult, he has grown out of those things. Jonathan Toews has been a bit pissy over the last few years. Unpleasant, unhappy, clearly frustrated on the bench. It's not like he's out there like patting guys on the back like, let's go, fellas, come on, we can do it. That's not the kind of guy Jonathan Toews is. Part of it is that he is a fiery competitor and the team has not been good, and it's understandable. But Jonathan Toews' leadership comes in, look how hard I play, look how I win board battles, look how I finish my checks, look how I defend, look how I play a 200-foot game, all those things. But in terms of moral and emotional support for players, he's not the guy. That's not the guy. And I'm not saying he's bad at it, but it's just never been his style of leadership. It hasn't been. And you know, Seabrook was always the vocal leader on the dynasty teams. And like you say, like those kind of depth guys are usually kind of the more rah-rah types, those lead by voices. And Toews has never been that. And he's not going to start now.
Right.
You know, I don't know. And again, it's not a knock at Toews, but I don't want to romanticize those two guys too much because
Gets you in trouble.
romanticize them for what they've done. But what they're going to add to this team in the future, I don't know. I really, you know, it'd be cool to see Patrick Kane break Stan Mikita's records. Fine. Is that doable at this point? You know, if this team is, if they get Bedard, yeah.
Yeah.
Right? But
Changes.
it's just, I don't know. If I had to decide today, I'm moving on one way or another.
I agree.
Yeah.
That's where I'm at too.
Well, you know, these meetings that these two are supposed to have with Kyle Davidson and their joint agent Pat Brisson, as far as we're to understand, are yet to happen. So all of these questions that I think that need to be out on the table in those meetings, and you know, as much in the summer as it was, we'll take it day by day. We'll give this season a chance. All that, I think that is now, once going into these meetings and coming out of it, that has to be gone. It has to be, I think it has to be Kyle Davidson saying, this is our plan. This is what our direction is. This is how we do or do not see you fitting into it. What do you want to do?
Yeah.
I think that's where there has to be a clear split one way or the other.
Yeah.
Either they're going or they're going to stay on in some capacity. And whatever direction they go, it's up to them. But I think whenever these meetings happen, you have to come out with a definitive, this is the direction we're going.
No more, let's wait and see what happens.
Yeah.
We got to do it. There's a bye week coming up here in a couple weeks, which happens to be a month before the trade deadline. Sounds like a good time to get the three of them in an office, get Jonathan, Patrick, and Pat in an office and say, what are we doing here? Let's see what happens is today. There's no more let's see what happens. Let's get a decision one way or the other, and if you guys are ready to move on, tell me where you want to go, and now I have a month to try and make that happen for you. And if I can't make that happen for you, well, then, you know, we'll have a nice ceremony for you on that last home game, and it's time for us to do our thing.
And I would think that Kyle Davidson in that meeting would say something along the lines of, look, if we don't move you here, we're just going to play out the season, and that's going to be it. Mm-hmm. So don't expect a new contract, unless he wants to. I don't know. That's the thing. From everything I've seen from Kyle Davidson, tells me he's ready to move on.
Bringing Patrick Kane and Jonathan Toews back beyond this season is a John McDonough move.
Yeah.
It is a PR, we need somebody to sell tickets move. It's a Bill Wirtz move. You know, it's the old regime. Like, we know we're going to be bad, and we want to sell tickets. It's not necessarily a terrible strategy at this point, but if you're truly wanting to move on, move on.
Yeah. There's a comment up a little bit there, Lawrence. If you could scroll up a little bit in the chat. Keep going. There you go. The PR problem you have. This is from Nate. He says, and you guys won't like this. If you dump Kane and don't get Bedard, it will be tough going from the majority of fans. Like it or hate it, Bedard or bust is what was sold. The Hawks have not sold that.
The Hawks never said that.
They've never. I don't think you've even heard them say the word counter Bedard.
It's been the fans saying that.
However, by trying to ensure your best odds at counter Bedard, yes, you have set that hope that happens. But the Hawks only have so much control on the lottery balls.
Right. They haven't said it, but that's the plan.
Yeah. But if the Hawks finish with the worst record and don't get counter Bedard, there's no logical reason to be mad at the Hawks for it.
Right. And it's not necessarily bust. This isn't a draft class that's like, it's Connor Bedard. And then number 2 is, who are we talking about in the 2012 NHL draft? Nail Yakupov.
Oh yeah, it's not. What was it the year the Hawks got? It's not Ovechkin, Malkin, Cam Barker.
Right. Yeah.
Drop off.
Like the drop off is not there. So if the Blackhawks have the worst record and come away with the 2nd pick or the 3rd pick, like, yeah, it sucks because you miss out on Connor Bedard, but then you're still getting an Adam Fantilli. You're still getting maybe a Leo Carlson. Like, there are players still available
and
in this
least
draft that
one
are
more player later in the first round.
top guys, yes.
And added to the guys you drafted last year.
And if you are moving Patrick Kane, you're doing it because you're at the very least getting a first-round pick from that team. So that would be a third first-round pick in this draft class.
Well, a lot of the fans have put all their eggs in the Connor Bedard basket. I'm for it.
I have.
But I guarantee you, Kyle Davidson has not only been blinded, put the blinders on and only focus on Connor Bedard. That's the goal. That's the ultimate prize. But I guarantee you, he's got 1,000 different scenarios planned out.
Yeah.
For if we go 2, we're going for this guy. It's Adam Fantilli. Mm-hmm. If you pick 3, he's probably got, the Always Sunny in Philadelphia meme with all the string charts going.
Pepe Sylvia.
Yeah. He's probably got that for number 3.
Karen in HR.
I don't think Kyle Davidson is just sitting there already got Connor Bedard in his lineup for next week. I don't think he's that short-sighted.
No, but
and he's surrounded by enough smart people to tell him, hey, we should also have plan B, C, D, E, F, all the way through Z.
Yes. But look, on draft lottery night, and we'll be here, anything less than 1 is going to feel like a disappointment.
It's going to be a disappointment, sure.
Yeah, there's going to be...
It's not going to be a bust. It's going to be a disappointment.
No. Yeah. But you've got 3 guys in this draft with Bedard, Fantilli, and Chris Peters told us earlier, like, Mitchkov might have been a number 1 overall pick in most drafts, too.
Sure, yeah.
So you've got 3 really strong... I'd be shocked that they fall in the top 3.
Yeah, I don't see that happening.
But 1 or 2 is ideal. 1 is ideal. 1 or 2 is great. 3 you're kind of like,
3 the draft opens up a bit.
Yeah.
But I think, yes, as far as we're talking the consensus top 4 guys in this draft class, all of them have the ability to be the guy you bring into your prospect system that is immediately the best guy you have and is looked at as someone who can change the trajectory of your franchise. I think Carlson can do that. Mitchkov can do that. Granted, he's not going to be able to do it as fast, likely, as Bedard, Fantilli, or Carlson could because of his situation with the KHL.
Have nothing but time.
They sure do.
Yeah.
So, again, out of those 4, he's my 4th pick. But they all have that ability as far as, draft analysts and scouts have been saying. So, if you don't get Bedard, you don't get the top guy, but you're still going to get 1 of 4 guys who in other draft years could go number 1.
If you don't get Bedard and you draft 2 or 3, no matter who you draft there is automatically the top prospect in your organization.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
From the second you make that announcement, he is your best prospect.
They immediately surpass Korchinski and Reichel and Nazar and all the guys that we've been talking about and excited about. They immediately are the head of the class.
Yep. Nate finishing up his point says fans don't need to be logical to be angry and often aren't. But the Hawks,
I don't agree with that at all.
Yes.
Breaking news.
But the Hawks can't manage based on how they think the fans are going to feel in the moment. They have to do what's best for the organization.
Kyle Davidson has proved that he's
Yes.
He's done that already.
Look, he traded Alex DeBrincat for a lower return than anybody thought. He traded Kirby Dach. He traded Brandon Hagel.
Yeah.
He's not afraid of it. And look, if in 4 or 5 years,
He sent down Lucas Reichel after
Yeah.
a 3-point game.
if in 4 or 5 years the Hawks are in the playoffs again and looking like a team on the rise, then the fans will be back.
Oh, for
They'll
sure.
come back. They will understand. Like, of course, fandom is emotional. Of course it is. But you can't say, well, I feel like this is the right move for the organization, but, Frank in the 300 level might be upset. No, screw that. You've got it. And again, that's like the McDonough thing is you've got to have the sparkle and the pizzazz to reel in the fans. Give your fans more credit than that. They're smarter than that, most of them.
And I would say that even in this season, I think we collectively have said like the turnouts, they have been
Much better
than expected. So the fans, even going into this season where, it was very clear it was going to be bad. Fans are still showing up. Fans are still supporting this team, and credit to them for I think for the majority, seeing what is the future, what is the plan, and what is the goal. So. Yeah, I think as far as making unpopular moves, it's going to be a short-term setback, maybe, for long-term gains.
Yeah, there's an old saying that from the great legendary pro wrestling announcer Jim Ross says it all the time about
By God!
about certain guys that like they're all sizzle no steak. And those are the types of movies you're talking about. McDonough, the get the sizzle but no steak. Kyle Davis is getting that steak, that foundation right now, and we can add the sizzle later.
Yeah,
I just like saying the word sizzle.
Sizzle's good.
It's
I
a
like
fun
sizzle.
word.
We were at Chipotle
Sizzle.
and everything was sizzling back there. It was lovely.
Sizzling in my stomach right now.
That's why I got the green tomatillo and not the hot, because then I'd be like the entire show. Before we move on to the second half of the show, there was a comment up there in the chat. You just had it, Lawrence, and then you scroll away from it. There it is. Mike says, you guys want Chicago to be Buffalo in 3 years. Do you think picking up players like Puljujarvi, I'm assuming that's Lafreniere, Alex Turcotte, is a low-risk, high-reward move for the Hawks? Yes. Maybe not those guys.
Is that what Buffalo did?
In particular? Well,
No.
Tage Thompson was
Ryan O'Reilly
was a
trade.
cast-off.
Was a right? Yeah, but
That
that was
was Ryan
that was
O'Reilly.
Ryan
That
O'Reilly.
That was the top prospect.
Yoka Haru was kind of like that a little bit, where the Hawks had given up on him and they
got
gave up on Nylander.
Right. They got Alex.
Well, they
Tuck
needed to get
and-
rid of Alex Nylander, and the Blackhawks wanted to get rid of Henry Yokiharu, so
Yeah.
1 for 1.
Well, I think just to the point of trying to take on some guys that came in with high pedigrees, high draft, spots that haven't really panned out. I think that why not? I think taking in some guys and getting a flyer on guys who have shown to have talent and were highly thought of by all the experts coming into the draft. Like, yeah, sometimes a change of scenery is a good thing.
Yeah.
Yeah,
I'm not
Puljujarvi,
over the
I
moon
have
for
no
those
interest
guys.
in. If you can't make it work playing with Connor McDavid and Leon Draisaitl, it ain't going to work playing with Sam Lafferty
Yeah.
and Jason Dickinson. Lafreniere, everybody thinks the Rangers are just going to give him away for nothing. I don't see that. I'm not sold that he's anything more than, third liner at this point. And the Rangers have said, now take it with a grain of salt, they're not interested in trading him. And if they are, they're not just going to give him away for nothing. That's not a pennies on the dollar type
I
of
think
guy.
what they're asking, though, is would this be part of a Taves or Kane trade? Not only picks, but bringing back
Well,
a
at some
young
point
player.
you have
with
to
some
start
upside.
doing that. At
I
some
don't
point,
think
you
the
have to
Rangers
start
are going to
doing
say we'll take on Patrick Kane as a rental for our first this year and Alexis Lafreniere. I don't think the Rangers are that dumb.
that. Yeah, I don't know. I mean, Turcotte. I mean, if that's the guy the Kings are ready to just basically be done with, sure, bring him in here. I'm not ready to give up any kind of major asset to get him. I mean, he's been a major disappointment. So
Other than Puljujarvi, out of those guys, I don't think the Kings or Rangers are necessarily giving those guys up. Edmonton clearly is giving Puljujarvi up.
because
But-
he's not good.
It's just yeah,
He's proven it.
I don't know.
Multiple times. Like the Buffalo situation is different because you have Tage Thompson, but that was the Blues' top prospect. They had to
Right.
give him up to get Ryan O'Reilly.
Right.
It's worked out for both sides. Alex Tuck came in the Jack Eichel trade along with Peyton Krebs. and a bunch of draft picks. Those aren't guys that were like, well, you couldn't. And Alex Tuck had a really good season with Vegas before they traded him away. Right. So it wasn't like he was, hey, this guy's a bust.
Yeah,
those were legit assets that other teams had to give up to get their final piece to their puzzles. So it's a little slightly different. Buffalo didn't just sign Tage Thompson off the scrap heap because St. Louis gave up on him. St. Louis had to give him up to get something they wanted. But yes, at some point, Kyle Davidson has to think beyond just first-round draft picks for some of these guys.
Yeah.
He has to start bringing in guys that can play at the NHL level as soon as now or next year, because you got to fill out a roster at some point.
Yeah, and I think that's kind of what the question was. Is
yeah, I'm all for
aside from just compiling draft picks, which
bringing in young prospects, that should be part of the rebuild plan as far as moving, trading players and getting future assets. It's not just all picks. But I think if you're talking Edmonton, I'm not looking at Puljujärvi. I'm thinking of Dylan Holloway. I'm thinking of Xavier Bourgault. If you're looking at New York, I'm not thinking of Lafreniere. I'm thinking of Brennan Othman. There's other players, like you said, Tage Thompson was the top prospect in the blue system. I'm not looking at the tossaways. I'm looking at who has value.
Yeah, I'm not looking at a guy that has, hey, maybe a change of scenery will get things turned around. I want a guy that just hasn't hit the NHL scene yet and is going to be a star, or at least a productive player. So yeah, I think Davidson focused a lot on draft picks because last year he had none in the first round. Mm-hmm. So now he's got 4 more first-round draft picks over the next 2 years. So he'll eventually start. I think you might start seeing some of those prospects added to the mix when it's time to start taking on some bad contracts to get to the cap floor. Like, yeah, we'll take on your crappy contract for 2 more years, but you have to give us this guy that can play for us this year, i.e. having to throw in Teuvo Teravainen from Brian Bickle. Yeah, that's where you might start getting those type of players.
Well, that would be great.
Yes.
Yeah.
It's nice to be on the other side of those types of deals, isn't it?
Sure, yeah, and maybe you don't bring someone back quite as strong as Teuvo, and this offseason too, you could be looking at more like Peter Mrazek sort of situations too, where, well, we know this guy's kind of washed, makes a lot of money, a contender needs to clear some cap space, give us that first-round pick or give us that prospect with him, and we can talk. That's sort of thing that I think that he's already shown that he's willing and able to do, Kyle Davidson. So
yeah.
I want to acknowledge a super chat from Thomas who says Chris Vosters is coming into his own. It's nice to see. We saw Chris today. Good guy. Yeah. Thank you for the super chat, Thomas. And we want to remind everybody that the ComEd Energy Efficiency Program is committed to helping families and businesses in the communities they serve manage energy usage and lower energy bills now and into the future. ComEd offers a wide array of incentives on lighting and other efficiency upgrades to commercial, industrial, and public sector customers of all sizes across their territory. Customers can inquire about how to upgrade outdated lighting to energy and money-saving efficient LED lights. Learn more about network lighting to operate your lights through your mobile device and track your facility's energy usage and more. Incentives have recently increased for indoor, outdoor lighting and networked lighting controls, making these projects even more cost-effective than before. Visit ComEd.com/poweringbiz now to start saving money and energy. And to start a project, contact them at 855-433-2700. For more info, email businessee@comed.com or publicsectoree@comed.com.
And if you're saving money on your energy bill, you can turn around and use that money to get some very competitively priced tickets to sporting events, Blackhawks games, any kind of event you can think of through the Game Time app. Game Time is the hottest new ticketing site that makes it easier than ever to score the best deals on tickets to sports, concerts, any kind of show, anything that you'd want. Game Time can give it to you. Ever dreamed of sitting in a seat you never thought you could, like the 50-yard line or courtside or right up on the glass? It's possible with the Game Time app. They have the biggest last-minute price drops that can be found on the seats you never thought you could buy. You're not going to find a better deal this season on Blackhawks tickets, that's for sure. Looking at the Game Time app right now, as we said, only 6 more home games between now and the March 3rd trade deadline. So we're just saying there's few opportunities guaranteed that Patrick Kane and Jonathan Toews will continue to play in a Blackhawks uniform. So to see them at the United Center, they just wrapped up a 7-game homestand. Their next home game coming on January 22nd, that's Sunday. Looking here against the Kings, $38 gets you in the door, gets your butt in a seat. The next time they are at home after Sunday the 22nd is Friday the 10th. The
Don't buy those.
February 10th,
Don't buy
the
those from us.
takeover. So definitely get your tickets there through us for the takeover. It's going to be a fun time. But any other time, go through the Game Time app. They can guarantee you the lowest price. And if you think you can find a better deal at another site, you can't. But if you think you can, Game Time will price match that, because that is how much they are dedicated to getting you the best deal for your tickets. If you love CHGO, you're going to love Game Time. The best way to support us is by buying your tickets through the link in the description. And when you do that, you're going to be joining over 15 million people who have downloaded the Game Time app and scored the best seats to all of their favorite events.
By the way, March 2nd, Thursday, March 2nd, could be the last home game for Kane and Toews. Dallas at Chicago, $16 on Game Time right now. And as people start to figure that out, those tickets will probably go up, so it might be worth jumping on right now. And make sure when you do, you use that link in our podcast description.
Dallas is a lead in the Western Conference in points right now, just like we all predicted.
Yeah, exactly.
Tied with the Jets.
Hey, remember when the Blackhawks traded their first-round pick with Dallas in 2017, and Dallas took Jake Ottinger?
That was cool.
Nice. Good job.
Anyways,
Way to go.
that's a fun game I like to play. Is who could they have had?
Yeah, well, chances are the guy that was in charge at the time would have drafted some undersized U.S. development forward anyway.
Oh, well, he got Yoki Haru, 2 picks later? 3 picks later? I don't know.
Well,
Anyways,
we won't talk about that guy anymore. We'll have to keep feeding the jar. Nate says, saw an NHL insider say that 27 NHL teams were against or over the cap with LTIR fudging. Hawks could really weaponize that, too, at the deadline. It's not just about bodies. That's true. They could do that.
yes.
But remember, someone mentioned it in the chat last night saying no one's going to be able to trade. Everybody's against the cap. They find a way. They always do.
Always a way.
They always find a way to bring in
Blackhawks
that.
could be that third team in some of those deals that say, give me a prospect and I'll take on, $200,000 of this guy's salary,
Right.
so you get under the cap.
The Hawks were always against the cap at the deadline, and almost every year found a way to make an impactful move, be it Antoine Vermette, be it Michael Hanzus. Oduya, I believe, was a deadline acquisition. I think so. We're close to it.
Yes,
13?
in 13.
Yeah. So, it can be done. These teams find a way, we got a pretty good lead in the division, and, is that guy's knee sore? We better put him on injured reserve until the
Right,
playoffs. It happened legitimately with Patrick Kane and the collarbone.
That's how they
Right.
got. That's how they got Vermette.
Yeah,
in
for
2015.
Vermette. So
Look at the Tampa
these
Bay
teams
Lightning.
find a way.
Yeah, Tampa Bay Lightning kept Kucherov on the sideline for an entire season.
Yeah.
And then, hey, look, I'm great for the playoffs. Let's go win a
my
Stanley
arm,
Cup.
it's broken. So
There's
anyway,
a will, there's a way.
yeah. Last night, by the way, really strong game for Philip Kurashev, and it kind of got buried in the fact that Seth Jones scored the game-tying and game-winning goal, had 3 points in the game, was the number 1 star, all that stuff. But Philip Kurashev came up after practice today with Luke Richardson, and I believe it was John Dietz who asked, could Philip Kurashev develop into a potential 20-goal scorer? And here's what Luke had to say.
I think he did all the right things yesterday in the game, and even in the first period, I believe they had a 2-on-1 kind of, and he just missed the net. I don't know if it just kind of cupped his blade. He just shot it wide, but it was a real nice play with him and Taser. So. And he just kept going. I liked his perseverance, and he made a great play, on Murph's goal to start with. But, he almost got one from Murph back in when Murph came out of the penalty box. I just thought he was all around it. So I think that determination is kind of showing that, he's not just satisfied to be an okay player, okay young player. He wants to be a really good young player and grow his game. So that's encouraging. I thought he started off the season so well, and we moved around different lines and played great. Wasn't ironic. It was just every line he went to, they were the line that week. And he was kind of driving that. And it's not that he fell off. I think it's just moving him around, maybe get out of rhythm, and a little bit of not puck luck, I guess, and maybe just as a young player has to figure out how to get a little bit more determined and push a little harder. And I think playing with Taser helps. You know, I mean, he's very driven, and he doesn't accept really anything less. So that probably helps push him along. And then, you know, I was happy to see him have real good success last night.
Is there something that, like, on a more playoff caliber team, that his points would be even more of things like that?
Well, I'm sure, yeah, that would. Yeah, like anybody that goes to Tampa Bay, they look like they're a top line player. They go somewhere else and they don't. So, you know, I mean, you go to teams that are loaded up with that high end talent, but also it's not just high end talent. They have a high end compete level, and there's only a few teams like that. Like, I think Boston's kind of driven like that. Tampa's driven like that, and that's what we really want to create here. So it's good to see, you know, I mean, like a guy like Taser and Kane are, you know, they're not satisfied. You know what I mean? Just winning 3 cups and just playing it out. They're competitive every night. They're not happy. They're barking on the bench and on the ice, and they're here to win. And I think that helps rub off on guys. And, you know, Tyler's great. He's very vocal. He's won, and he's been around those guys in Tampa. And Jack, same thing last year in Colorado. So that helps to have those guys around, the young guys. And, you know, they can pass that along, and as well as still do it themselves. So I think, you know, I mean, I think Hershey, you know, I mean, last night, that's a really good step forward. And it's not like a big step forward. I think he's played pretty consistent over the year. But there's times where maybe he just doesn't have that little bit extra push to get over the line like he did last night, and went in for him. So it was great.
It was great, Luke. You're right. And Philip Kurashev is a guy who, the more we've watched this year, I feel like the more confident we've become in the fact that he will have a place on this team when they're ready to be good again, and when they're ready to compete again. Because I mentioned this last night too, and if you watched, thank you. If you didn't, go back and watch. For the first time in his career, it seems like the arrow is pointed up every game, as opposed to those peaks and valleys that we'd experienced early on in the year, and especially last year when he was really kind of jerked around up and down the lineup, scratched, all those sort of things. Yeah. He's had a chance to settle in here, settle in on a line permanently, and has just really looked terrific. And we put up a YouTube short today with Isaac Phillips talking about, you know, playing consecutive games is a great thing for confidence. It's really working for Kurashev, and you're seeing him create. You know, goals are great, and the redirection was wonderful last night. But the pass he made to Connor Murphy from the left wing boards, to have the awareness of, I've got time, I've got space, and from the corner of his eye, he sees that Murphy's coming, you know, into the slot from the point. That young players sometimes will rush that pass or not have the confidence to make it. You're seeing Kurashev make confident play after confident play this year, and for a 4th-round pick, he's been really, really good. And I'm excited to see what the future holds for him. And, you know, will he ever be like a 60-point guy? I don't think so. But 45, 40 points for a 4th-round pick who can play up and down the lineup? Hell yes.
Yeah.
And find that guy from other organizations.
Yeah, I think it's really just a testament to what a coaching staff putting, you know, a player into a position to succeed can do. Like you have to be able to know how to push the right buttons with the right players, and I think Luke Richardson has really done a good job of that this season, especially in his first year as a head coach, and yeah, to the point of bouncing a guy around. Like, Kurashev was all over the place, and now he's been basically defined as, you are going to play in our top 6. And I think having that, he knows, okay, I know who I'm going to be playing with mostly. I know the role I know what's expected of me. I know the role I'm going to play. It just coming to the rink and being able to know what's expected of you day after day, game after game, like that is huge. And for a young player, it makes all the more difference. And so I think you just see the confidence coming out of Philip Kurashev's game, and he's really starting to turn the corner. And yeah, I fully believe that, you know, he's an RFA this offseason. He should definitely be extended. You know, as long as they, you know, as long as they seem fit, but definitely make him part of this team, make him one of the pieces that people should be excited about. moving forward. And yeah, when this team is competitive again, hopefully in the next 3-4 seasons, I think a fully developed Philipp Kurashev can be like a great middle six scoring option. Maybe a guy who even can be a threat on the penalty kill. Like, I think that is, if that's his ceiling and he hits it, fantastic.
Yeah.
Yeah, confidence definitely has a lot to do with it. I talked to him earlier in the year and asked him, like, hey, last year you didn't have a role. You were up and down. You were back to Rockford. You were back to Chicago. This year, you've essentially been a top 6 guy, at least for the last couple of months. Once he got in the top six, he really hasn't come out. And he says that makes a lot of difference. Once a young player knows that his coaches trust him, it's off to the races. He even said it after last night's game. He was asked, hey, it seemed like you were out there almost every other shift in the third period because of how well you were playing. Like, does that give you a boost? He says, yeah, once, knowing that the coaches trust you to be the guy that helped get them back in the game, that just makes you even better. And he's finally getting that. And is 3 points a night going to be the norm from Philipp Kurashev? No, it's not. I'm going to be interested to see what he does tomorrow night against the Flyers, who are a bigger, heavier team, a little more defensively structured than Buffalo is. So it would be nice to see if he can kind of, not saying repeat the 3 points, that'd be fabulous, but repeat the same type of being a difference maker on the ice against a team like the Flyers.
Score as many points against the Flyers tomorrow night as possible.
Oh, I'm all for that.
Yeah.
Yeah.
We are abandoning tank aspirations to beat the crap out of the Flyers tomorrow night. That would be great. Someone said in the chat, was Young and Dangle God, if someone offered a late first for Kurashev at the deadline, would you take it, or you really want him on this team for the rebuild competitive?
Tough question.
End of the first?
At some point, you have to start hanging on to guys.
Yeah.
You just can't trade every good young player. The Hagel thing was you got 2 first-round picks and 2 players for the control. At some point, you got to start identifying your guys and hanging on them. Trading Philipp Kurashev for the 31st pick in the first round, maybe in 3 years you get a guy that's doing what Philipp Kurashev is doing right now.
Right. Yeah.
I would say probably not. Now if like the Anaheim Ducks say, hey,
Yeah.
sure, you take that.
Yeah,
That's
you
not
take
gonna
their
happen.
first. Yeah.
Like at some point you have to identify your own homegrown talent and hang on to those guys.
I think Kyle Davidson wants to do that. It's just
If the offer is too good
I mean, hey, look, if you're talking about a first round pick that could be in the teens and early 20s, maybe.
Right.
Maybe.
Consider it.
I think you definitely do, but it's a joke, but it's applies to this. A boat's a boat, but the mystery box could be anything. It could be a boat. So like you could trade Philipp Kurashev to get a guy that's going to be, a future, middle 6 goal scorer in late in the first round, but you already have him.
Right.
Like, why not see what else he can do?
Why trade for a guy that's going to be what you already have 3 years from now?
Exactly.
Just roll with what you have. A few comments in the chat about why is Kyle Davidson waiting to trade? Because it takes 2 teams to create a trade.
Sometimes 3.
Yes, like you got to have a partner. Some teams might not be looking to deal just yet. I'm sure if somebody calls and says, hey, we want to give you this for Max Domi, he'll probably pull the trigger. But you got to have someone on the other end of that phone that wants to trade before you could do it.
Mm-hmm. Also, if you wait, you can drive up demand a little bit too, because the teams that are going to be gunning for the Canes and the Toews and the top guys available at the deadline, not all 32 teams can trade for that guy, and they're going to be looking for the backup plan, and those guys get more value and you get a bidding war. Yes, there's a risk of injury, but I promise you, some of the people that are mad at him for not trading already will be mad if they trade now and they don't get enough back.
Right. Yeah.
So you can't win, right? Do you want him to wait and potentially drive up demand, or should he act quickly and just get rid of the guys?
Nobody wants to be the general manager that sets the market.
That's true too.
Right.
Nobody wants to be the guy that sets the market too high or too low.
But
they want to wait for the market to be established before they go out to the table.
Yeah, there's a lot of, games of chicken going on with NHL GMs. And, yes, there's a risk of injury, but it also goes the other way. There could be an injury that happens to a team that they are not able to, recover from internally, and they have to unexpectedly go out and get somebody. So that's where, a guy like Max Domi or Andreas Athanasiou could step in and be like, hey, like, we know you just lost your second line wing that you really were banking on being there. Here's our guy. What are you willing to put up for him?
Yep, there's a lot of factors that go into the trading, and I know some people say, well, trade everybody now to force Jonathan Toews and Patrick Kane's hand to waive their thing. These guys know what's happening. You don't need to trade Max Domi today to get Patrick Kane to say, yeah, I want out of here.
Mm-hmm.
That's not going to be
the final straw.
Right, exactly.
Yeah,
like, if trades wanted to get these guys out of here, they would have both said, trade me right now on draft day. When they got rid of DeBrincat and Kirby Dach in one first swoop. That's when they would have been, you know what? I'm out. I'm done.
Yeah. Gunzo says Murphy is healthy right now. Not trading him ASAP is foolish.
You still got to have somebody on the other end of that phone.
Yes.
It's not NHL 23 where you could just trade anybody you want at any
Force a
time.
trade. Yeah.
There's no forced trade button.
There's probably teams that are like, hey, we want to make sure Murphy gets late in the season. We don't want to trade for a guy now that can get hurt in 2 weeks.
Yeah, and also trading him for a 4th or 5th round pick right now,
Doesn't do you much.
Then just hang on to him.
Yeah.
And keep him for the next 2 years. And you got a veteran player.
Kyle Davison has to have a watermark for what he will take and not
And
take
shouldn't
for
take
players.
less.
And shouldn't take less.
Saw last year with Calvin DeHaan.
Yeah, absolutely. It's not about, just get something for this guy. It's like, no, like there's especially a guy like Murphy. When he's healthy, he's a great guy in the locker room. Mm-hmm. He's a solid defender. He's a guy that you can rely on most nights in your top six without question. And it's you need guys like that. He's also under contract for a few more seasons. Like, trade deadline moves don't usually happen with guys who have 2 and 3 years still
Those
left on their
usually
deal.
draft day moves.
Exactly. Moves that happen in the summer. So I know we keep bringing up like maybe Murphy, maybe McCabe. That is like down the list of like guys that could be on the move. But it's something that is an option out there because there are teams that need help for defensemen. And there guys like Jake McCabe and Connor Murphy can help contending teams that need depth at defense. But again, it all comes back to there has to be someone out there that wants Connor Murphy
And Connor
for the
Murphy,
Blackhawks to trade him.
Connor Murphy and Jake McCabe are Luke Richardson players. Those
Yeah,
are the exact,
definitely.
They play the way he played. Those are the guys he wants in the room. So he might be like, hey, the guy that I would see going first as far as defensively is Jack Johnson.
Yeah.
Because he's only on a 1-year deal. He's on an expiring contract. He proved that, hey, play him 13 minutes a night on your third pairing, good things can happen. Jack Johnson has not been the dumpster fire everybody thought he was going to be when he's been here.
Analytically, he's like the worst player in hockey.
Sure.
Well,
But part of it is
he's
being
still-
on the worst pair on the worst team in
He's
the
still
league.
Jack Johnson. He was playing 20 minutes a night.
Yeah.
He was playing well above what he should have been.
Right.
But when
Blue
you
lines
have,
be damned, he's been a lot better than we all expected. We all joked when that contract was signed, but he's been pretty darn good, all things considered.
for this team.
Right.
Yeah. Luke talked about it today. Well, I don't have it ready to go, but talking about how Connor Murphy is learning from Jack. I think it was Ben Pope's question. Ben Pope is probably working on a story about this, but a little bit of a head fake that Jack Johnson does to fool forwards about where he's going to move the puck. That Murphy's learning it from him. Feel like all these defensemen are like, oh wow, what is that thing you do? This little subtle thing that helps them make plays that now they've all sort of jumped in on and said, oh, cool. This is like we were talking about earlier, like the little tips a veteran can give, right? And even someone like Connor Murphy, who's been in the league a long time, is learning from Jack Johnson. So, is he a stud defenseman? No. But again, he's one of those guys. If a team's got an injury or wants some depth or some insurance, he's low cost. It's going to cost hardly anything to get him from the Hawks. That is, if you're talking about defensemen, that's probably like you said, the first guy to go.
Yeah, he's an ideal 6th, 7th defenseman for a team with Stanley Cup aspirations.
And you need them.
Yep.
You absolutely do. All right, before we wrap up, want to remind everybody that the NFL playoffs action continues this weekend. We are one step closer to Super Bowl 57. And for the NFL divisional round, check out DraftKings Sportsbook, an official sports betting partner of the NFL. New customers can bet $5 and get $200 in free bets instantly. That's right. Deposit $5 and $200 more will be added to your account instantly. Plus, all new and existing customers can take a shot at an even bigger payout with DraftKings stepped-up same-game parlays. Boost your NFL winnings with each leg you add up to 100%. So you like, Christian McCaffrey over 100 yards all-purpose and maybe a Deebo Samuel touchdown? Cool. Parlay that, and the more you add, the higher those odds get. So it's outstanding. The same-game parlays are so fun. That's the way we all love to play every night. Download the DraftKings Sportsbook app. Use that code CHGO. New customers can bet $5 on the NFL divisional round and get $200 in free bets instantly only at DraftKings Sportsbook with code CHGO. Minimum age and eligibility restrictions apply. See the show notes for details.
We've got some brand new lighting here in the CHGO studios. Hopefully you're noticing that at home if you're realizing, wow, the set looks so much brighter. Well, there's a reason for that, and it's so bright I might have to start bringing my shady rays into the office.
We can start projecting highlights on my forehead.
So, I think I'm going to bring the shady rays in soon here because these are bright. It's going to take a little time to get adjustment, but if you are sitting in a brightly lit studio or outside when the sun comes back out sometime around April, you will want some Shady Rays because Shady Rays never understood why sunglasses were so expensive. So they went out and they changed it. You don't have to break the bank for quality sunglasses this winter because our friends at Shady Rays have you and your precious eyeballs covered. Shady Rays are premium Polaroid shades featuring world-class optical clarity, substantial durability, and styles created to everyone and every single lifestyle. Best part about Shady Rays is they have that crazy, insane protection program we've been telling you about. If you lose or break your shades on day one, they told us they will send you a brand new pair, no questions asked. Did you drop them in one of our frozen lakes or off one of the many cliffs found here in Chicago? Well, they'll take care of it. They'll replace them for free. Even with that strong of a protection program, they still manage to make quality that I can tell you for being a customer of theirs for the last couple of years. They are just as good. I'm going to say even better than any expensive pair on the market. Plus, Shady Rays does something awesome. Besides making you look cool, they do something cool for others. They provide 10 meals to fight hunger in America with every order placed and have donated over 20 million meals to date. That's awesome. They stand behind their product, and they told our team that if anyone has a problem, they will take the profit, wrap it up in a giant ball, open that huge test window out at the Shady Rays factory, and throw it right out the window. You either love the shades or Shady Rays will pay to ship them back. That's it. End of story. And for our great CHGO listeners, Shady Rays is giving you an unbelievable deal. Use the promo code CHGO at checkout, and you will receive 50% off all orders that have at least 2 pairs of sunglasses in them. That's buy one, get one free, kids. You can get 2 pairs of awesome sunglasses for as low as $54. You won't regret it. Head over to shadyrays.com and check out all their new and best shades.
All right, fellas, before I wrap up, any closing thoughts? Anything we want to throw in?
Yeah, I'm just looking forward to tomorrow night's game.
Should be fun.
It's going to be a road game against 2 teams that are at the bottom third of the division, and I don't know if it's probably not, but I don't know if there's extra oomph for the Blackhawks for tomorrow night's game, but we're suspending the tank expectations for tomorrow night. I really hope the Blackhawks win.
Yep.
Agreed. Absolutely.
Take out Captain Pudwack and his team of...
And his crew of Pudwackians.
Yeah. They're not all Pudwacks in Philly, but...
No, but there's a couple. All right, we're going to wrap things up. Reminder, February 10th is our United Center takeover. That announcement is coming this week. The opportunity to buy tickets is coming very, very soon. So stay tuned. Maybe we'll have news on that as soon as tomorrow night. So join us after the game, and we'll let you know. Big week for us here at CHGO, and the takeover is just part of it. So make sure you're sticking around, and make sure you become a diehard at allchgo.com. Discounts on everything, including the takeovers, and a free shirt or hat at sign up. So that's a great, great deal that literally pays for itself after you get a free shirt and get a hit an event or two. You're good to go. So join us after tomorrow night's game, Hawks and Flyers. Thanks to Lawrence for running the show today. We'll talk to you tomorrow night on the CHGO Blackhawks Podcast.